All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for attending. My name is Sean Knock. I am the past president for the NC Realtors Housing Foundation. Currently, I'm the Committee Chair and wanted to just thank everyone for attending today. We're going to talk a little bit about the land trust model. I'm not sure who actually knows about the land trust, but we've got some very esteemed guests here today that will be able to share some insight with us. The guests that we have today, we have first off, we have Kimberly Sanchez. Kimberly is the CEO of Community Home Trust, an affordable housing nonprofit that uses a community land trust model and focuses on home ownership. She grew up in Central Florida, completing her undergraduate degree in public relations at the University of Florida and her law degree at the University of Miami. She has been a nonprofit leader for over 20 years, having come to CHC as the former CEO of Community Legal Services of Mid Florida, a nonprofit law firm and legal aid organization headquartered in Orlando, Florida. Kimberly has primarily practiced housing law throughout her career and is passionate about affordable housing and its impact on the health of our communities. She is a member of the board of directors of Grounded Solutions Network, a national nonprofit focused on shared equity. She is also a member of the North Carolina Community Land Trust Coalition and a past co-chair of the Orange County Affordable Housing Coalition. She enjoys traveling, jigsaw puzzles, and baking. Next up, we have Sherry Taylor. Sherry is the executive director for Durham Community Land Trustees. She is a real estate professional with 18 years of experience in nonprofits, government, and the private sector. Sherry provides strategic direction and oversight for DCLT, drawing from her background in commercial real estate development and urban planning. She holds an MA in city planning from the University of Pennsylvania and an MS in international real estate development from Florida International University. In her role as executive director, Sherry is responsible for administration, leadership, fundraising, and organizational strategy. She leads DCLT's vision, stakeholder engagement, and partnership cultivation. And last up, definitely not least, we have Rhett Russell, who is the founder of the Raleigh Area Land Trust, a longtime standing supporter of affordable housing. Rhett currently serves as a real estate consultant to RALT, advising and leading the real estate development portfolio. Rhett is a civil engineer for a private firm where he oversees the planning and programming of transit projects across the country. He holds bachelor and master degrees in civil engineering from NC State University. He loves all things sports and would love to be a sports announcer in his second life. Red is also married to his husband Joe of 19 years. Welcome to each one of you. So what we're actually going to do now is we're going to actually play a short video just to give some information in regards to what is a land trust model.
Community land trusts, or CLTs, are nonprofit organizations that acquire, own, and steward land permanently for the common good. The most common CLT land use is housing, but retail, office, and a variety of other uses are possible. CLTs give formal decision-making voice and power to local community residents in determining land uses. Here's how CLTs make home buying affordable for families in their communities. First, the CLT builds or buys homes using one-time public or private investment. Next, the CLT sells just the home to a low-income buyer who qualifies for a mortgage, and the CLT keeps the land, holding it in trust for future generations of home buyers. In return for being able to buy a home at a discounted price, the family agrees to pay it forward and sell to another low-income family at a price they can afford. The CLT manages the sales process, ensuring that each home buying family builds some wealth from a predetermined, limited amount of the sales proceeds. In this way, the one-time public or private investment in CLT homes makes lasting affordability a reality and stabilizes communities. And CLTs benefit the larger community too, as they preserve and protect housing for long-term residents, helping to build stronger, safer, and higher quality diverse neighborhoods, contributing to greater educational attainment, employment opportunities, and health outcomes. Visit groundedsolutions.org to learn more about CLTs today.
All right, so we've got the intro. Oops, sorry about that. 1 second.
Hi, I'm Julie Brunner, your instructor. In the first two.
All right. So now we're going to dig deeper. We've got this esteemed guest right here. So now we're going to get them to share a little bit of their knowledge with us. Are you ready? All right, so what I want to do is just ask a few questions here. I think what I'll actually do is start off with, let's see, we're going to start with Kimberly. Kimberly, thank you again for being here. Question for you. With the land trust model, how is the land trust model different than other affordable housing models?
Well, thanks for having us all here and putting this together. Really appreciate the effort and being able to talk about land trust, which I think is our favorite thing, all of us on this panel. So thank you again. So, as you saw in the video, land trusts are unique as an affordable housing model because a land trust organization, which is a 501(c)(3), holds the land in trust for the community. So, the land is really not part of the calculation when it comes to the selling or renting of that property on top of the land. We like to think of land trusts sometimes like we do land conservation, but instead of just the land that's being conserved, we've also got a house on top of it. So sometimes that helps people to also kind of put those two things together. We're conserving the house and the land for the community. So the major benefits to this affordable housing model is that the housing stays within the community over and over and over again through each buyer. So we kind of create our own market, our own little bubble. It doesn't ever go, the house never goes to the private market. It continuously goes back to the land trust and then is given or sold to or rented to another affordable home buyer or renter. So that's really the biggest difference between, like, let's say a Habitat for Humanity or like low income housing tax credit, which some of you all may be familiar with also, which is a rental product. But those have limits to their affordability. But land trusts just have none.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So now I think I'll ask Rhett. So Rhett, we talked about, we talk about affordable housing and looking at how the land trust model comes in. So with that, can you dig a little deeper on how is the long-term affordability protected with this model?
Yeah, sure. So as Kimberly mentioned, there's investments made up front. And so essentially each home buyer, the person that's buying the structure, we separate that from the land itself. And on the back end, when somebody's ready to sell it, they're essentially sharing equity, right? So in the video, it mentioned pay it forward. And so it's like that person gets in at a low discounted rate. They own the home, but they're signing what we call a ground lease. And that lease essentially allows them to use the property underneath the land as long as they live there. And when they go to sell the property, as Kimberly mentioned, it comes back to the land trust, but there's a shared equity component. And that's how the long-term affordability is essentially protected, is from that shared equity. And so every land trust has a different measure in their shared equity. But at the end, the home buyer that bought the original home is agreeing to share that. And the land trust gets the benefit of that on the back end. And then the next person also benefits from that. So the long-term affordability is essentially protected through the ground lease and the shared equity component of that ground lease.
Okay, thank you. And now we're going to reach out to Miss Sherry here. So Sherry, so we're talking about home ownership, right? But we do have renters out there, and we talk about affordable housing. You hear individuals, concerned about, okay, I'm renting. But then if we're talking about the land trust, some people may get that confused in regards to owning versus renting. So Can you give us some advantages of the land trust home for renters?
Absolutely. So again, thanks, Sean, for having us here. It's always a pleasure to have you specifically at our events. But you know, being able to rent in the Triangle especially is a privilege. Rent is very high, and so if people can afford to rent here, um, that is important. I'm not trying to overstate that. It is very hard for people to continue to rent here in the Triangle, and a lot of people are finding that their their lease rates are going up every time they have a lease renewal, and not going up by $50. Sometimes it's going up by $300 or $400, and that is one of the disadvantages of being a renter. You have a locked in housing payment for 1 year. Sometimes it's 18 months, but typically 12 months, and that's what you know. Um, with land trust, being a land trust homeowner, the advantage to that is that you have a stable housing payment. You know what that principal and interest is going to be. Um, every year, right? It doesn't change for 30 years. That is the benefit of home ownership, whether you're a land trust homeowner or you've bought a market rate house. But here in North Carolina, there's an additional benefit where land trust homeowners can pay reduced property taxes. One, because they're only paying property taxes on the improvement, the house itself. And here in North Carolina, we have state-enabled legislation, which allows each property tax assessor in each county to lower the property tax rate for land trust homeowners and land trust homeowners only. They did that to make homeownership more affordable because your insurance, as you all know, and your property taxes are part of your monthly mortgage payment. And so by combining a below market purchase price, so a lower purchase price, the property tax benefits, and only paying property tax on the house itself, it gives land trust homeowners a very accessible mortgage payment every month. And that is one of the advantages of being a land trust homeowner. We serve low and moderate income people, regular working families, and it is hard whether you're in Wake, Orange, or Durham for these families to buy a home. Last year in Durham, I think our average was about $440,000. That's that's more than most people can afford. And so, what we do is that we provide the access to home ownership that people need without paying nearly $500,000 for a house. And that is one of the advantages of being a land trust homeowner instead of being a renter year after year.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. So, as everyone knows, so this is realtors that we have, you know, tuning in today. So, I want to go back a little bit and dig a little deeper on the shared equity, and just to hear more about it, because of course that's going to have to be explained to the client. So, Kimberly, could you dig a little deeper and, just act like, we're just coming on, no one saw the video. What is shared equity? Like, break it down to us.
That may be the hardest question. No.
Well, the
So,
floor is yours, so have fun with it.
yeah, thank you. Um, yeah, so shared equity is really what it sounds like. But sometimes it's one of those terms like ground lease that sort of people hear and then it kind of goes over their head and they say, what is that? So, but really, shared equity is really work sharing the equity that you would receive or that you have in your home. So, like I said earlier, since we kind of create our own market, if you think about equity, like in the private market, which you all work in, that has fluctuated. And if you've been in this field for a long time, you know that equity in people's homes has typically always increased. But in the last like 10 years or so, it has tremendously increased in really substantial ways. And so we've kind of gotten used to a very large sort of nest egg inside of our properties with all of the equity that has been created in the last 10 years or so. But before that, it wasn't necessarily like that. And I know that like my parents would say like in the 80s when their interest rates were insane, right? Not nearly as low as they are, even though we think they're high now. They were even double that, and they were doing all kinds of crazy things with mortgages. Um, that we have a lot more regulation, but we also have had some really some big increases in land value is where the majority of that has popped in. So if you think about it sort of in your world, equity, you might think, ooh, if you have to share my equity, like that could be a lot that I'm losing out on. And we like to make sure that we're trying to like remind people that because we're kind of creating our own market, we don't sort of we can't really, it's not apples to apples as a comparison. So what happens with community land trusts is we have to share equity because as Rhett was saying, we have to give that investment back to the next buyer. And if you think about sort of like equity on one side and permanent affordability on the other, like in a scale, you cannot have a ton of equity and keep something permanently affordable. You have to sort of shift that scale so that affordability and equity balance each other out so that we can turn the house around and provide it as affordable to the next home buyer. Which means you just can't get like $300,000 in equity like some people are receiving um, on the private market. So we kind of create our own market. Every land trust, and sort of the uniqueness about land trusts is that they have very specific sort of tenants, but they can be shifted and changed and really have different rules as so that they can fit the community much better. So like everybody has a resale formula. Every land trust will have a resale formula, but that can be a little bit different for each organization. So like our resale formula will tell you how much equity you will receive at the end of your at the end when you want to leave your house. Now, remember, you're also buying down your own equity when you are paying down your mortgage every month. So you've got sort of the additional equity that we're going to give you in our resale formula. And then you've also got the equity that you've created by paying down your mortgage, which is completely affordable to you. One thing I like to talk about is not necessarily like the equity that we have in our house, because we're all really sort of socially, I think, and societally, like really think that that is how we build wealth. And that is true in a lot of cases. But with land trusts, I like to remind people that like we're equity shifting. So you may not be receiving the equity that you're getting in your house like you are on the private market. But really, what's happening is that you're coming in and you're purchasing at a price that's affordable to you when you start that journey. And then as your journey grows, your income is increasing as your situation is stabilizing. And so your equity is really not maybe necessarily in your house. It's shifting into other places like your savings account. So that's a little bit about shared equity.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. So I'm gonna skip Rhett for a second because I got a question for you. But I'm gonna go to Sherry real fast. So Sherry, so we're talking about shared equity still. Like, so we see home prices in this market have really elevated. Um, how much can I really get from, from a sale of a home? Like, how much can I really get?
Okay. That's a really good question. And we pretty much the way we do it at DCLT, that is all outlined in that ground lease. that people receive as part of their purchase. That ground lease is also recorded. And so what we have is an appraisal-based formula. So the answer for every person is going to be different depending on what the appraisal was when they purchased their home and what the appraisal is when they want to go and sell it. But I will say that in our formula, it depends on how long you've been in your home. The longer you've been in your home, the more equity that you get to keep. But I will also say this. Most of our land trust homeowners are not like the traditional homeowner. They're not moving every 7 years or so. They're not trying to move up. We serve a lot of first-time home buyers, first-generation home buyers, and so they are buying that home not just for 7 years, they're buying that home for a lifetime of use. And so if our buyers go to sell, they are typically in the category of being in their house 15 plus years, which gives them the largest share of equity. Um, that formula is on our website. It's pretty easy to understand. Um, I think it's one of those things where people have to think about what am I really getting this home for? Is it to build equity or is it to pursue another goal? Um, and I say that because, Kimberly hit it on the head. A lot of us are trained to think about real estate as an equity building tool, something that we can extract from. But there are people who do not see their home that way. They see their home as a way to build generational wealth, and they do not intend to sell it. They intend to pass it on to their children. So at this point in our history at DCLT, we have second generation homeowners, people who inherited a home that was fully paid off, close to downtown, something that they couldn't afford right now because these homes are 4 and 5 and $600,000, and they receive that free and clear. All they have to do is pay very minimal property taxes on it. So I really just want us to expand what our thinking is about what people can get out of a house, because cash is one thing, and building generational wealth can be another goal that people have, another goal that your buyers have. I'm a licensee as well. Another goal that your buyers have. And so we just need to figure out what equity they're looking for. And the land trust can provide both.
Great, 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 great. So that explained a lot. So, but you mentioned one thing about, think, is it Durham? You're in Durham, right? So I know Rhett is in the nation, I mean the state's capital. Um, so Rhett, are land trust models just for metro areas or can it be throughout the state?
That's a great question. So, yeah, they are anywhere, they're used anywhere in which there are affordable housing challenges. And I think most of us on this call, especially the realtors, understand that that is not a metro area challenge. That is a nationwide challenge. Now, it so happens to be that in most metro areas, there's a little more pressure, I believe, right, on home prices because the land may be the controlling factor there, right? There's not as much land in that dense location. So I think it's more common, but it is obviously, used throughout to protect uplift folks. I will say, in a lot of cases, locations, and Sherry and Kimberly probably have a lot more experience than I do here, but in a lot of cases, it's not only to get new home buyers in, it's to protect existing home buyers and things like gentrification, where there are pressures on folks to either sell their home or because of tax issues, as Sherry mentioned. So I think there's other sort of conditions that that can relate to rural versus, urban kinds of issues, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you for that. So, so with, and I'm trying to get some selling points for the realtor. So if we're talking to a bar and I guess with Kimberly, you know, believe you mentioned 99-year lease, right? Like 99 years is a long time. Um, what do they do about that? Like, that's going to be a question that a realtor is going to face, about the 99 year. So, in regards to your experience with land trust model, um, what are some tips that you could pass on in regards to that question?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, I don't think any of us will be around in 99 years, right? So, and the crazy thing about that ground lease is it's renewable for another 99 years. Um, but yeah, so the ground lease is just it's a lease, and so it has terms in it that once you leave the house, then it expires. It's no longer, so it's just a legal document that's sort of like a lease. So it has a term, so you can leave at any time. You're not like stuck in 99 years. The benefit to the 99 years, though, is just, like Sherry and Rev both said, is the permanency of it. It feels very permanent. So that, as Sherry was saying, what is your home buyer looking for? Are they looking for an investment, or are they looking for something that is going to be affordable and secure for them and their family for 99 plus 99 years? So I think it is a great conversation for realtors to have with people who are potentially considering purchasing a home, because that goal is really important, as Sherry was saying, right? Is it an investment, or is it something that you just want to be safe and secure and be affordable for a long time and sort of pass along? And I would say that the 99-year ground lease is probably less scary in that sense than if that's your goal.
So, so Sherry, does that 99-year restart if I pass it on to my kids?
Absolutely, they get their own new 99-year ground lease. Right? It
So we
sounds
could just keep renewing this 99 years.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. But each owner gets their own 99-year ground lease. So if you pass it on, then the new owners will get their own. And that way it can really stay in a family for generations. And being rooted in a place, having a family home is something that not everybody grew up with. And so it is a goal for a lot of people. And I just want to add to what Kimberly was saying. How do you sell it to your clients, people who are looking for a home? I think it's really easy, actually, because the price points that we have, you cannot find here in the Triangle. That's how you sell it. Um, we're selling brand new construction um, anywhere from 250 to 280. You can't find it. You just can't. And that's how you sell it. It's like you could have something that has a lot of issues or is barely livable for that price, or you could have something um, that is very livable and move-in ready. And so these are choices that people can make for themselves. And I don't think it's a very hard selling point.
Hey, Sean, I want to add to something
Yeah.
that Sherry mentioned. So
Okay.
the 99 year, we've been talking about this whole 99-year thing, and if you pass it on to your, like, children or whatever, I think one of the things that's also important to recognize, at least in Raleigh, and I'm pretty sure in both Durham and Orange County, is if you bought the home as a income qualified buyer and you then pass it on, let's say you pass away and pass it on to your heirs, the good thing is they don't have to be income qualified, right? So it essentially means that you got in as a qualified income qualified buyer and you can pass it on to, let's say, your children. They don't have to be income qualified at that point. And so essentially that is helping build that sort of stability, wealth, equity, all those things that they mentioned. I just wanted to bring that up because I think it's a key point. There.
That actually was my next question now. So you actually read my mind because I wanted to know if we're looking at affordability, and I want to pass it on to my kids, does everyone else need to meet that same threshold? So that is really, really good to know. So it's almost like being able to just get in, um, and basically keep it going, and just run this thing as long as possible.
Yeah, and
That's
I
right.
think
Go ahead.
yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead. And I think that's where we say like the other part of our mission is that we're maintaining these assets for the community, right? And so that is really that side of it then, that the asset will stay there for in the community forever with that family.
Rhett, were you going to say something else?
I was just going to say, sort of adding on to what Kimberly and Sherry just said, as far as the sales points for realtors, right? Sherry mentioned you either can afford a market rate house or you can't, right? And so the selling point for realtors is we're going to get you into a home that's affordable, that's also limiting the amount of mortgage interest you're paying compared to what you're actually buying down the house for. Because in the way that the land trust works, oftentimes we're helping to bring additional subsidy to the table, which means your mortgage is less, which means you're actually being able to put in more to buying down the price of the home over 10, 20 years than paying the interest, right? Again, especially coupled with the point that Kimberly or I think Sherry might have made on the tax piece, right? So now instead of having to pay taxes as a part of your mortgage at a very high rate, you can use that to then buy down, the home every month if you want. So I think it gives you a lot more ability to invest in yourself in a way that you wouldn't have if you were paying for a market rate home. So I think that's another, important part.
So with the taxes, with it being at a reduced rate, like, is it meaning reduced that there's no tax on the land, or how does that work? And I believe Sherry has her hand up. I don't know if that's to answer the question or.
Well, I'll answer that question really quickly. There is no tax on the land because the land is not owned by the improvement owner. The land is owned by the 501(c)(3), the land trust. And we don't pay taxes. So there's no tax on the land. It's only tax on the house. And each county handles it differently. I can tell you how they handle it in Durham. I can't tell you how they handle it in Wake. But our property tax assessor's office is very supportive. And so every time there's a reappraisal of taxes like last year, we work very closely with them to make sure that land trust homeowners are getting the benefit of reduced taxes. But there was a reason I always raised my hand was because there was a question in the Q&A, and it's a little bit more of a complicated question. So I was wondering if we could answer that live. It's from Tim, and Tim is asking if the buyer gets in trouble and the owner gets in trouble and there is a foreclosure pending. Does the bank foreclose on a land trust home like any other property? And the answer to that question is yes. We work with normal lenders, and they will, if the mortgage isn't paid, they will start the foreclosure process. And as y'all know, in North Carolina, it can be a lengthy process. But I will say that land trust homes have a very low foreclosure rate nationwide, less than 1%. And that is because as a community, we don't want to go through a foreclosure. It is very hard to get off your record. It's very hard to restart. But we are partners with our homeowners in that property, and we don't want to lose it. So if someone does get into financial straits, or there's a death of a co-borrower or something like that, and they need to get out of the house, I'll just speak for DCLT. We would rather purchase that house from them before it goes into foreclosure. So we don't lose the asset and another family can benefit from that house. So that is one of the reasons why land trust homeowners have a very low foreclosure rate. This is not transactional for us. We're their partners in home ownership from the beginning to the end. And if we have to buy it back, we'll buy it back.
So what about with that, Sherry, or anyone, let's just say it's not foreclosure and I just want to sell. Do you have to reach out to the land trust first? And are you going to be given the option to purchase it before I put it on the market to anybody else?
So I'll take a shot at this. So basically the ground lease controls that. So the ground lease requires that the home be sold back to the land trust. So it cannot go on the open market, in any condition. The ground lease requires that it be sold back to the land trust with that shared equity component. And then the land trust itself then finds the next buyer to place into that home. So it never goes back onto the open market, which is, part of this affordability protection that's out there.
Okay, thank you. And for some reason, I didn't see that question, so I'm not sure if there are other questions that may be in the chat because I don't see. Okay,
Yeah, there were a couple, but I think Sherry's or I or somebody's answered most of them.
okay, okay. Sorry about that. All right, so with talking about the land trust, we've heard different things in regards to how it works in Durham, how it works in Orange County, how it works in Raleigh. So that sounds like they're slightly different. Each model may be slightly different. So what I wanted to do is give you an opportunity to explain who your land trust actually serves, for one, home types, another one. And if you wanted to share any more in regards to your resale formula, you have that opportunity. And I'll start with Kimberly, then we'll go with Rhett, then we'll go with Sherry.
All right. So Community Home Trust has been around for 35 years this year. And we have, I'm going to start with the last question first. The resale formula is probably what everyone's interested in. And we have changed our resale formula 3 times because, like I said, that balancing act of trying to determine how much equity somebody can receive and keeping something permanently affordable so we can sell it at an affordable rate the next time. We actually were using the appraisal method, but determined that that was really, as you all know, subjective appraisals. We did a test once where we found that an appraisal was done, and then the next day the same house was appraised, and there was a $50,000 difference. And so we found that that was just a really difficult way for us to monitor and complete the program. So we moved to just a 1.5% appreciation. But that became, that happened right before the market uh, basically was dealt a huge blow. And we had some difficulty then trying to figure out how to buy these homes back. And also at that period of time, we didn't have any lenders to lend to. So if anybody's interested, if any of the realtors want to know, there are lots of lenders now that will lend to land trusts. So that shouldn't be necessarily an issue. And there are more that are coming up because as we keep talking about this ground lease, what happens legally is that the homeowner receives a leasehold interest in the property. It's not a fee simple transaction. So as you can imagine, sometimes underwriting doesn't necessarily consider leasehold interests versus fee simple. And so we've had to do a lot of education on a nationwide basis among lenders, but plenty of lenders are now on board. So we had a period of time though where we had no lenders, and we had that increase in equity. And so we were having difficulty trying to manage our inventory because we have over 300 homes. And then, so now we're on a 1% per year appreciation. And like we just did a closing today, and the family left with $100,000 in equity. So you still can obtain quite a bit of equity, even with that sort of lower 1% per year appreciation. But that's our ground lease formula. Like I said, we have over 300 homes. Those are all types. So house, single family homes, condos, townhomes are included in that. And what was the first question? Sorry, Sean.
Really was asking who does your land trust serve? So I
Oh.
think it's more of, looking at your area or concentration.
Yeah, so the majority of our homeowners are service workers. So people who work, we're in Orange County, so people who work in the hospital as nurses, as janitorial specialists, people who work for the university in like sort of lower capacity, firefighters, police officers. You'll hear that from I think all of us, daycare workers, people who work in the grocery stores. Like those are really people who really are vulnerable, cannot like rent at a really high rate will make everything unaffordable, and homeownership is just out of reach. So that area where the people who work in the area, really who serve the area, should be able to live there, those are the people we focus on.
Thank you. Next, I believe, who did I say was next? So is it Rhett or was it Sherry?
I, I don't know.
All right,
I'll
let's
go if you
go.
want me to. Since our model is probably closer to Kimberly's model, so it kind of might make it easier. So our model uses a fixed equity formula. Ours is 1.5%. Kimberly mentioned 1%. And just so that everybody understands that 1.5%, at least in our calculation, is based on their actual mortgage. So they gain that 1.5% on their mortgage. It does not include down payment assistance that they have received. They can't build equity on the down payment assistance, right? So I just want to make that clear, and happy to talk through that if somebody has questions about it. So ours is 1.5% per 1.5% per year for every year you stay in the home. We've only been around for about 6 years. And so we're the new kid on the block here. We have two homes in our portfolio, which were single family homes that we bought, but we are under construction with 18 units in the heart of downtown Raleigh on a partnership with the city of Raleigh. And those are essentially cottage courts in a duplex style. And the units will vary from about 200 to 275, kind of in that same ballpark as Sherry mentioned. Keep in mind that the actual price for those would be 500 plus. So I just wanted to point that out. We also have, so those are cottage court, they're duplexes. So I'll say duplex in that scenario. We also are closing on 12 units in Apex, and all of those are townhomes. And so we have a deal with Pulte in Apex that we are closing there. So by the end of the year, we will have 34 homes, I think, which is a big change from 2 to 34 in 1 year for us. And then as far as service, I think same as what Kimberly mentioned, we're sort of in that 50 to 80% area median income level, which is, police officers, teachers, service workers, county and city staff, right? Municipal staff. In Apex, there's a couple of those. So I think that's the questions that we answered. I will say this, though. I think Kimberly should point out their model's a little bit different in how they actually acquire their homes. versus how we acquire versus how Sherry acquires. So that might be something that you might want to talk about later too, right?
Well, what we can actually do is we can save that for the question after Sherry finishes.
Cool.
Um, because the floor is hers in regards to Sherry. Who does your land trust serve? What home types and resale formula? You're on mute.
Okay, I hope you all can see this. This makes it much easier. We serve households that are 80% area median income or below, and that is based on household size. This chart that you're looking at right now is not created by DCLT or the City of Durham. It is created by the federal government, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. And it's this chart that you're looking at is just for Durham and Chapel Hill metro area. And so if people are going to buy a house from um, um, Community Home Trust or DCLT, we go by this chart. There is another chart for the Raleigh area, metro area. So they don't have to live in Durham or Orange County to buy from us, but they do have to be within these income limits to buy a house from us. So just want to make that clear. And this chart changes every year effective in June. And so this is the one that we have right now. So if you have clients who have a household of four and they're under 92,500, they could buy a house from us because they are within this income band. A little bit about DCLT. We have been around for 50 years. This year, we changed our name in 1987 to DCLT, but we've been around since 1976, and we provide affordable rental and homeownership opportunities to folks here in the city. Most of our homes are in the central core of Durham, so right around downtown. We have 328 rentals and we have 63 homeowners. As far as home types, we have all types. Detached single family homes. We also have a deal with Pulte. So we have these homes, these townhomes for sale right now. They're 2, 3, and 4 bedroom homes. And these are in the Briar Creek area. And, you know, our resale formula, as I said, is based upon an appraisal, the initial appraisal when a person buys the house, and another appraisal when they want to sell the home. Um, and I just want to say that the appraisal-based formula is working for us here in Durham. I am also concerned about how, you know, quickly houses are appreciating. But for right now, this is the formula that we have, and it's very clear cut. So, um, you know, the other thing that I want to say about DCLT is that we have these developer partnerships, but we also develop our own homes. We build brand new construction, we do gut rehabs, and so we have a mixed kind of strategy for making sure that we have enough homes for the demand that's there. And like I said, our homes are going between 250 and 280 at this point in our history.
Great, great. Thank you very much. So Rhett had mentioned about the way that Kimberly acquires properties. So Kimberly, could you share a little bit about that?
Sure. So we do a mixture of things also, but the majority of our inventory comes through negotiating with developers. So, like you just saw what Sherry said and what Rhett talked about with their agreements with Pulte for the last 30 years, that's what we've been doing. So all of our homes are brand new when they are and they are built by the developer, and they are interspersed between all of the developments so people can access neighborhoods that they would not otherwise be able to access. That is called inclusionary housing policy, and the town of Chapel Hill has an actual zoning ordinance. But the rest of our jurisdictions, we just negotiate the just like Sherry and Red are saying, we just sort of negotiate with the developer that percentage of units to be then purchased, built by the developer, and then purchased directly by the land trust, and then sold to an eligible buyer. So Most of our inventory comes in that way because that's sort of been in the DNA of Orange County as they created their affordable housing policies. And but otherwise, like we're building 21 townhomes and we just did a rehab project. So we do some of that work too.
That's some serious negotiation right there. So hats off to each one of you for that. So, Sherry, you mentioned something about renters as well as homeowners. And I believe if I wrote it down correctly, you said 323 renters. So, with your program, do you see where some of your renters may transition into becoming homeowners?
Yes, that's our favorite part. We sold a home last month, and we definitely encourage our renters to attend our home buyer sessions and to get prepared for home ownership. But last month we sold a house, and it was one of our brand new homes. It was a renter who had been with us for 3 or 4 years, and then she transitioned into land trust home ownership. We love when anybody buys a home, whether it's from us or not. But especially when it's one of our renters. That's like when we get to ring the bell like 5 times instead of one. We love it.
Outstanding. So before, first of all, we're at the top of the hour basically. So one, I want to say thank you very much. But also I think now we can open up to let, questions come in. But before we do that, I believe it was in Rhett's bio where he said that one day in his second life, I think he wants to be a sports announcer. So at this time, I'm new to this, right? So nothing, I know we're in different areas. I know we got NCAA basketball going on right now, for some, but this is your opportunity to spotlight your program. This is your free commercial. Um, Here's an opportunity to let the realtors know what you have cooking, what you have in the hopper. Why should they come to your neighborhood? Take it first, whoever wants it. Nobody wants it?
I'll go. Sean has put us on the spot. We did not know that this was happening. Total improv. So thanks, Sean. But um, I would say, come check us out. Bring your clients. We have home buyer sessions, 1 hour home buyer sessions in person and virtually every month in English and in Spanish. If you want to know more about DCLT, the CLT model, what we have coming up, all of our new homes and our new construction, um, come check us out. We have a lot to offer folks. If your clients are not into townhomes because they can't do stairs, well, we have some ADA accessible homes as well being built brand new right now. We're trying to serve the entire community, and we really take design and innovation seriously here at DCLT. And so we're trying to do all the things: sustainable housing, environmentally sustainable housing, accessibility, home ownership overall, and we have something for everybody. So thanks.
Thank you. Who wants to take it next?
Go ahead, Kimberly.
We unmuted
I
at the
saw you.
same
I saw you.
time.
I know. I was like, all right, you go first.
Sure. Yeah, I think this group of people is really in an important position to help homeowners who really want home ownership opportunities, but you recognize as the experts that there's just not a place for them in the private market at this time. And, we would like to say, I think all of us, that everybody understands land trust and everybody knows we exist, but it's just not true. And so you being sort of ambassadors of the work that we're doing or that the opportunity that's available would be amazing to send people to each of our organizations to learn a little bit more about what possible homeownership opportunities are available. Um, Specifically with Community Home Trust, we have two realtors on staff. We are real estate firms, so we don't necessarily need that particular help, but we do provide a referral fee if you do bring somebody to our offices that then purchases a home. It's small, it is not commission based, but it is something. And so if you truly are recognizing that one of your clients doesn't necessarily fit the market, we would all love to be able to work with them if possible.
Thank you. Brett?
Yeah, I think Kimberly and Sherry hit right on what we are doing too. I'll put a plug in because we are the newer kids on the block. We're not as established yet. We're going to get there. Like I mentioned, we have one home left in Apex for sale, and so if there's interest there, then please reach out to us. We do have this project in downtown Raleigh, so which actually, can I share my screen? I don't even know if I have the option to do that. Let's try it. Look at that. Can you all see that? So
Screen right
this
there.
is our, can you see it? Okay, cool. So this is the project we're under development, under construction. They will all be completed by the end of this year. So if you have somebody in Raleigh, Wake County, I'll say, and they are under 60% AMI, then they're obviously able to purchase one of these homes. We'd be glad to chat with them. We haven't put them on the market yet. We're going to do that probably in late May. But you're seeing it here. So if you want to get, someone that you have, you're certainly welcome to do this, to reach out to us. And then we're working on, we will have some units in Rollsville, in Wake Forest. And then it looks like we're going to have some other development partner deals, as both Sherry and Kimberly mentioned. I think we're going to have about 30 more units in Raleigh that will be available starting later this year. So if you're interested, you're welcome to reach out to us, and we'll start you down that path.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So there we have it. I mean, we've gotten a lot of information, probably too much information in 1 hour. But I'm gonna definitely say thank you to each one of you for your time, especially to be able to explain. And I'll open it up right now just to see if there are any questions. It may be too much information, so you may be hearing from individuals that may be on the call, but definitely want to open up the floor to see if there are any questions. Looks like there's one in the box that asks, will you all share your email addresses, please? Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Let's see, are there any more questions? Don't want to leave anyone out there to have to figure this out. Well, it doesn't look like any. Um, I believe Sherry said she had a class today at 12, so um,
Come join me.
you may be a little late, but we can actually say, I want to say on behalf of NC Realtors, especially NC Realtors Housing Foundation, we thank you so much for giving up your time to be able to just explain this. We do believe that this is going to be something that, is going to continue to be more and more mentioned in this crazy market we have. So, we thank you, and we definitely would love to be able to tap on you again if necessary. Um, Thank you very much, Rhett, for seeing, I didn't hear the shout out for the NC Realtors Housing
I was just getting
Foundation.
ready. Wait, hold on a
Um,
second. I was actually getting ready to say to
so
you, hey,
I'll let you
I
get
wanted
there.
to.
I'll let you go ahead.
Okay, I was actually going to say I appreciate you, Sean, and Tim, who's also on here, and I think I saw Kentia on here as well. But yeah, you guys have been fantastic. They're actually a sponsor of the Idlewild project that I just showed, and so they were able to help bring us quite a substantial buy down on a unit, to be able to provide something at a lower cost. And so that is super appreciative. And I think it shows that throughout the state, there's good things being done from the realtor side. And I think this is just one more thing that the realtors can, become a part of, not just as a donation. That's not the point here. It's just a partnership of just getting people in homes. That's our goal, right? For all of us on this call. So yeah, shout out to, to the Realtors Foundation, obviously, and then, those of you that really made it happen. So
All right. Well, thank you once again. We do appreciate it, and we hope that we can get a few realtors out there to sell some of your homes. So thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Take care.